Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. It's Black Friday 2023, and instead of going out and shopping for crap to put in my closet, which I hardly have space for anyway, I did a little shopping in my soul searching. I've been very burned out as of this year. 2023 was, if I had to describe 2023, it was the best year of my life and it was the worst year of my life. It was the best year in that I discovered a lot of new things about myself, about what works well for me. I landed a couple of good jobs, and I discovered my passion for making art. It was the worst year in the sense of burnout, in the sense of drama, and even though I didn't, I had a few toxic relationships. None of them turned out badly. It's just that I learned a little bit more about myself, but they still drained me of energy and stuff like that, right? I learned one thing, though. I learned that bad things in our lives have a tendency to spread. For example, I almost couldn't find my camera to record this podcast right now. You end up spending 10-15 minutes looking for your camera. It turned out to be in my car. I can't remember why the camera would be out in my car, because last night before bed, I was sitting here recording a Peter, was it Shit or Dislike, but one of those shows. I was sitting at this corner. I don't know how it could end up in my car. And that's been my life as of late. And then you spend 10-15 minutes, you're stressed out. It has a tendency to spill over to the next activity, right? Later today, if I'm going to be responding to emails from my students, I'm already stressed out. I make a mistake there, and then I got to... You get the idea, right? Mistakes have a tendency to spread, especially if they're time-consuming mistakes, like misplacing things, like messing up on the grade book at Grand Canyon University. Their grade book is a disaster, but it's an unmitigated disaster. Every time I have to enter grades from my papers onto the grade book, it feels like I'm pounding my head repeatedly against the wall. It really does. I have a PhD in computer science, and to ask me to do that, literally, I'd rather go pound my head on the wall. And very frustrating. And it becomes even more frustrating when after that, I then make other... I gotta do something about the grade book. That's where I really have to put my foot down. Anyway, so it's one small issue out of an otherwise dream job, so I'll have to think about how to make suggestions. Here's what I would rather do. I'd much rather be spending my time programming something to help with our grade book, rather than week after week dealing with that drama, right? But I did some soul searching. I discovered that some of my art projects were giving me a lot of anxiety. I was working with toxic metals, especially lead and cadmium, and every time I did one of those pours, I might not have gotten into any sort of accident with them. I'm very respectful of those things. But the amount of safety precautions I had to take really added to the level of stress and anxiety. And then after that, the market for that stuff isn't really great anyway. I just got curious playing with it. I'm probably not going to do that nuclear experiment anymore. I had hoped... See these boxes over here? That dust is probably somewhat radioactive. Unfortunately, I misplaced my Geiger counter. And I would have loved to show you guys. I had an idea of how to separate the radioactive nucleotides in household dust. So the reason household dust is slightly radioactive is that radon seeps through the ground. We don't have a huge radon problem here. I actually borrowed a portable test to see. We got about less than one. I think it's picocuries per liter of radon here, so not a big problem. The funny thing is that dust is a very good magnet for radon decay products, and so radioactive lead and polonium-210 have a tendency to accumulate in the dust. I had an idea of how to get it out of there, but after all the dramas with the other art projects, with things that are not nearly as toxic as polonium, I don't think I'm going to be playing with that anymore. Not to mention all the caustic chemicals, the sulfuric acid, the hydrogen peroxide that you have to use to dissolve that. It was a curiosity. I don't think I'm going to play with that anymore. It's going to just invite a lot more drama and stress into my life. And there's no guarantee that it's going to do anything useful. I think I'll stick with my writing computer games and playing with less toxic metals. Bismuth, zinc, aluminum. I'll stick with that for after I'm going to take a break from that too right now because I'm really trying to nurse myself back into mental health. But after I recover, I'm going to stick with the bismuth, zinc, and aluminum, and maybe copper. Copper is a little bit stressful too because of the high melting point. So, and the precautions one has to. So maybe just bismuth, zinc, and aluminum after I and maybe pewter, tin, but after I recover from my mental health. This is I feel more sick now than I did back in May when I was grappling with COVID-19. I actually only had the virus for 2 days. I had the long COVID for some time. You could argue I'm still recovering from long COVID. Every so often, I still have GI problems. But I feel even more sick this time around than when I was grappling. Because one anxiety would spread to another anxiety. Part of the reason I've been having a difficult time getting my friends at the board game meetup to play backgammon with me is that probably I show on my face, right? I after dealing with lead and cadmium and polonium at home, I probably show all that anxiety on my face, and then I go to the board game meetup, I don't present myself well. I get stressed out there, and what do I do when I get stressed out at the board game meetup? I go home and play with some more polonium, and it just becomes a vicious cycle. So I'm vowing this month to take care of my mental health, go out to eat more. I have a few restaurants that know how to prepare suitable food for me, mingle with people there, and maybe take a vacation. Anyway, really goes to... I'm only 3 days into my quote-unquote mini retirement. Not really retirement, I'm still working, just not mini retirement from saving for retirement. Let's put it that way. It's a weird... I don't know if there's a concept for that. And I already feel so much better. This is the Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum.